You guys know what PrizePicks is. Best daily fantasy game in the world. Use that code Staples, play $5, get $50 instantly. And I'm telling you right now that the college football board is popping. And the Tennessee-Oklahoma game is particularly interesting. There are two squares, Ari, in the Tennessee-Oklahoma game that I think will tell us, well, actually it's one square because they don't have the other one that I thought they might have. So there's one really interesting square, and it is Jackson Arnold, 0.5 interceptions. It's actually a Goblin line, a Goblin square. So the Goblin square means they think it's easier to get, and Demon square it means they think it's harder to get. So like the Jackson Arnold more than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns is a Demon. So that's a potentially higher payout. The 0.5 interceptions more than is a Goblin. But I think it's easier to achieve. So, okay, here's my issue with that. If that is a more than, then I think we got a problem for the Sooners. Like, that needs to be a less than. And if it's a less than, I think the Sooners have a really good chance to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really important day and game for Jackson Arnold, who, you know, frankly has shown a lot of signs of excitement, but has turned the ball over quite a bit. Now, you expect that a little bit from somebody who's only started, 4 games in his entire career, but his first game last year against Arizona in the bowl game, I think he threw 4 of them, and he threw a pretty crucial pick 6 at the end of this game last week against Tulane, and Oklahoma could have lost the game because of it. So, you know, you definitely want to see Oklahoma clean that stuff up. You want the quarterback position to be sharp, and, you know, in a world where we're really excited, and I can't wait to get up there to see this game, Andy, 2 former 5-star guys at the quarterback position trying to become, you know, stars in the sport. You know, there is a lot of paying attention that's going to have to happen when it comes to Nico and Jackson, and who plays a crisper game without turnovers is probably going to tell a pretty large story of who wins the football game. Yeah, so some other ones that I'm actually looking forward to seeing too is Brew McCoy's receiving yards, or receiving touchdowns, and rushing and reception. We got 0.5 box. I like more than. Brew McCoy's a really good young receiver in this game, and definitely somebody I feel like Tennessee is going to have to rely on here. Now, there are a lot of squares here, Andy, that I'm like really excited about because, you know, frankly speaking, I'm at the verge of thinking that Tennessee is a legitimate national championship contender. And, you know, there's a lot of squares on this list that I'm thinking more than, like 287.5 passing and rush yards from Nico. I think Nico's going to escape the pocket a few times and make some plays with his feet in a game like this on the road. That's a really attractive square. I really am locked into on Oklahoma running back Gavin Saige. His rushing yards are very low in these squares, 25.5 rushing yards attempts, more or less than. He hasn't really done too much so far this year, but I watched this kid as a recruit. I think he's a stud. He could break one off in this game. There's a lot to choose from here.
Let me give you a wild stat, Ari. I'm back, by the way. Let me give you a wild stat that should influence how if you're doing squares for touchdowns for any player. This stat should influence you, and you got to be thinking about this and decide if it's going to continue or if it's going to flip the other way, because it is one of those things that is somewhat random. So Oklahoma's turned opponents over 7 times so far this year, Ari. 1 interception, 6 fumble recoveries. Do you know how many fumbles Oklahoma has forced?
No, how many?
6. They have recovered every fumble that an opponent has. There is a skill to recovering fumbles, and there is like a way to teach it. Like, don't be. What was the game we watched the other night? Oh, the UNLV Kansas game where 7 Kansas players tried to pick up the ball and run with it when they could have just fetal positioned and had the ball, and UNLV ends up winning the game because of that. So there is a teaching part of this. So Oklahoma clearly good at recovering fumbles, but there is an element of randomness to that. Sometimes the ball bounces to you, and sometimes it bounces to your opponent.
There's more randomness when it comes to recovering the fumble than forcing it, in my opinion.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Like we talked to the Alabama players last week after the game about trying to force fumbles, and they were definitely trying and succeeding in forcing fumbles. So Oklahoma is a defense that is going to make you put the ball on the ground. So you could potentially have some very short fields for Oklahoma if that keeps up. So keep that in mind as you decide what your Oklahoma player touchdown squares are going to look like.
Somebody in the chat here said, Andy, that I said that Brew McCoy was young. If I said that, it was because I was having a meltdown because the internet wasn't
He's
working.
younger than you.
Younger than me now. I'm old. Okay, I wanted to bring this guy up, and I was going to save him for you, but we have to talk about Dylan Samson. This guy taught us how to dance after a touchdown celebration, and his rushing and receiving square for touchdowns in this game is 0.5. It seems all but pretty certain that he's going to score at least once in this game, right?
I mean, the touchdowns are always a little bit random because you just don't know. Like sometimes, there may be a play where Dylan Samson takes a little flare pass and goes 64 yards and gets tackled at the 1, and then Nico sneaks it in. You just don't. That's what makes the touchdown ones tricky. But yes, Dylan Samson is getting into the end zone a lot. He
has 9 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, Producer River says he would take Dylan Samson for a TD in a heartbeat, but Producer River's a Tennessee grad. He thinks he's going to score 10 touchdowns.
That one's definitely going to be on my card, though. He's going to score.
Well, will he dance, though, is a question. Will it be one of the ones we taught him?
Yeah, I don't know, but thank you to Dylan Samson for teaching me that you have to be somewhat athletic to just dance. And it's a revelation that it's like we sit here and we talk about players and their ability all the time. And it's like, I can't even do a touchdown dance without looking like my muscles are tightening up. So think about how athletic you have to be to actually play college football at a high level, you know?
Well, we did learn during that process that you're a better athlete than me. So that's a good sign. Like you picked that up a lot faster than I did. That is your PrizePicks Tennessee Oklahoma preview. We don't know who's going to be dancing in the end zone. Do you know? Pick your squares accordingly. At least 2. You can go up to 5. Obviously, you can mix and match with other games. You can mix and match with other sports. You've got that free Caleb Williams square, almost free. If Caleb Williams throws for a yard for the Bears this weekend, then you will win that square. Ari and I both used that to win a play last weekend. So I would suggest if you are super confident in something, but not super confident in another thing, take the thing you're super confident in again and combine it with Caleb Williams, and you'll be feeling pretty. Play $5, get $50 instantly. It's the most fun way to roll.